Welcome to Manotick StringWorks. Please remember to like and subscribe and hit that notification bell for more video content. Welcome back to Manotick StringWorks. So we're going to continue with this Chinese jazz bass project. So last episode I sanded the neck to get it to look and feel more like a jazz neck, the right dimensions, 38.1 millimeters here at the nut. And the taper is actually quite nice too. So what I'm going to do is go through some grits here. I have to round off some of this profile here, make sure the contour is good on both sides with 120. And then I'm going to go 180, 220, and finish up with 400. Basically from about the 10th fret down, scuff up a little bit of the existing finish. And probably won't put a finish on right away, but I'll use a satin wipe-on poly for the back of the neck. Then after we're done with the sanding, we're going to do a setup. So I'm going to clean these frets, polish them up, clean the fingerboard. And I mentioned earlier that I want to change all these saddles to brass ones. And I have a donor bridge right here. And I think that'll be it for now. I mean, maybe in the future we'll change the pickups and the electronics. I'll see how it plays for a little while before we do that. So I'll stop talking, and I think this video will be mostly an ASMR video. You get to enjoy the sights and sounds of the guitar workshop. Alright, let's get started. Alright, well, I'm finished sanding. Feels really smooth. I know some people like unfinished necks too. But I think a nice satin poly, just a couple of coats, sanded in between, will finish it up really nicely. But yeah, the edge looks good. It's a nice rounded contour on the back. Everything's even. Feels nice. Okay, well, let's get to the fret ends and the fret tops as well. Next step. Alright, so these fret ends now, there's a couple of things. The bevel on them, they're pretty straight up and down. So I need to try and match the bevel on the rest of the frets. And then after that, I'm going to tackle them with the files. So let's start with that beveling. Alright, so I need to restore a beveled edge on these frets here. And I'm using this tool from Solo Music in Toronto. So it's a 4-angle edge beveling guide. So you've got a mill file, which you can remove. And then you've got 4 different angles. So 15 degrees, 35 degrees, 25 degrees, and 90 degrees. So I've determined that 35 seems to match what was on here as close as we can. And really, it's only the frets from about the 7th fret down that need some beveling. So all you have to do is, once you've set it, and I've set it to 35, you just have to put your block on the frets, on the fretboard, and just run it along a few times. working nicely. Actually, I can see the metal filings here on the fretboard. I'll just restore a nice little bevel there, so that's pretty good. I'm happy, you know, maybe 2 more passes here. Yeah, that's good. Alright, let me do the other side. So you'll hear it biting in here on this side, because I had done a few passes before filming. Yeah. That's biting in there nicely. Not sure if the camera is going to be able to do this justice here, but let me get rid of some of the metal filings. So you can see there's the existing bevels. There are the existing bevels. And then we move up the fretboard. You can see the new ones. I don't think they're quite as steep, but that's fine. Like I said, I don't want to lose a lot of fret, but they look really nice. I just have to round over the ends. And I'm going to do that on all of the frets. Now the frets weren't too bad on this bass, but definitely since I've sanded down the neck, they've obviously been sharpened up. So I have 2 tools here we're going to use. So this is a Hosco file, and you'll see that there's a concave section and then 2 filing surfaces on the side, and then the bottom and the top are safe, so that you're not going to scratch anything. So what you can do with the concave is you go over the end of the fret, you know, at an angle like that, and what it does is it knocks off those corners without doing anything to the fingerboard. You can go along. That's already good. But you can also use the side of the file and, you know, come in like that, curve it in. These frets are really low. I think they're only about 35 thousandths. I've got the camera in close, so I'm not in my normal position here, but so you can do something like that, and you know what? This works. So far, this seems to work really nicely, just going up and down like that. I also have just the fret end file like that. Again, safe on the bottom, and the 2 sides, and this one's actually a little easier to use for this action. So I'll see, I might just use this one and just go over each one, or a combination of both, but let me get going. Alright, so the fret ends are nice and smooth. Every once in a while you think you're feeling something, but no, it's good. Alright, so next I'm going to clean these frets using the fret erasers, and then we'll clean the fingerboard. We should be ready to string it up and set it up. Well, I think after cleaning with fret erasers and a light polish with the 4/0 steel wool and cleaning the fingerboard, that looks a lot better. It was pretty dirty, pretty grimy, and it's looking a little more appealing, that's for sure. Alright, so now it's time to put the nut back in. And so the existing plastic nut, I'm just going to reuse that. It's nothing great, of course, but for now, until I get a new Graphtec or a bone one. So I shaved off the ears, rounded it over a little bit, put it in there. Remember, we don't want to glue this in like it'll never come out, so if you just take a couple of drops of CA glue, I'm just using a cut off from a string here, And this is always messy stuff, right? So I like to just get a drop in there. That's enough, just a little bit. And we just press it in. And that'll set in a few seconds. You always want to be able to take them out. If that thing's glued in there forever, like with epoxy or something, you'll never be able to fix it if there's an issue with it. Alright, so before I get too excited and put strings on this bass, I talked about replacing these saddles with these brass ones. So I have a donor bridge here. It's a nice bridge, like a heavier mass than this one. But I didn't want to put it on because that means it would raise up the bridge, and I'm not sure about the neck angle. And also this one has holes already for the string through. This one doesn't. Now I can drill them, but I don't think I want to do that. But I think I'll just swap it out. So these cheapy chrome plated ones there, they're not very nice, but these solid brass ones, I don't know if they'll sound better, but they sure look better. So let me change those. Okay, well that was a quick and easy fix, of course. But you would have to check if you're ordering some parts. You know, obviously you'd have to check the thread count, etc. But these just swapped out. Yeah, these really feel cheap. You know, these ones look a lot better, and well, maybe they'll sound better. They'll certainly age nicely. Alright, well, we've got the new saddles on the bridge. They look good. Now we're going to put some strings on. So these are some brand new Fender bullets. 45 to 105 that I salvaged off a brand new Fender bass that came into the shop that the client didn't want the Fender strings. They wanted to put their own strings on. I think some Ernie balls. So I decided to keep them for a rainy day and this sort of occasion. So here we go. Alright, so strings are on. It's looking good. So what I'm going to do is I'm just going to lower the string action because all these pretty high, the saddles. And I don't mind doing that when we're installing. So I'm just using my gauge. You can hear that bounce. Here, I'll go this way. That means that needs to come down quite a bit. Now I'm just going to start at 6/64ths. And then work my way down to 5 if I can. Of course, not every instrument can be the lowest action in the world. So it's pretty good. Again, 6/64ths is probably the highest you'd want to play. I know in the Fender guide it's 6/64ths, but that's a little high usually. Alright, we're back. So, this is the next day. We're tuned up. Yeah, that's good. It's been sitting overnight, so I'm going to check the neck relief. So, capo on the first fret. I'm going to start with 12 thousandths. So, press down near the neck and body joint. It's passing under there a little too easy for my liking. So I think we're going to tighten this up. So we're going to take out a 4mm T-wrench. And we're going to righty-tighty, so clockwise. Give it about an eighth or maybe a little more if we can. Pretty tight. Oh, there we go. More. I heard something, which is good. Okay, let's try that again. It's definitely scraping, which is good. So yesterday when I was working on it, I set the string action at around 6/64, so at the 17th fret. So that's about right. I think I want to try it at 5. But, like I said, I think for now we're going to leave it at 6. And let this bass settle in, especially with the sanding on the neck and that, see what happens to it. So that's pretty good. Alright, so when we want to look at the nut action, so that's the height at the first fret, we press down to check initially, press down the 3rd fret, and then if you press the 1st fret and see how much bounce there is between the string and the top of the fret. I mean, theoretically, if it's low, it basically should be touching the fret when you do this. But a little bit of space is fine. So to use a feeler gauge, so I'm going to start with 22. And 22 is about sort of the average for a bass. Now, I put the feeler gauge on top of the fret, strum the string, and if it buzzes, well, it means it's lower. You know, there's no space. You can see the A string has space under it, the D string does, so they would have to come down, and probably the G string a little bit, so I wouldn't touch the E string, but the A, D, and a little bit on the G. So, for this type of job you do have to have files. So there's lots of different types out there, but these are Hosco ones that I like. So what you do is match up the size of file to the nut slot width, your string gauge, and then you get going. So always double check, you know. So when I want the A, I want the 0.085 of an inch. Right. So loosen the string. And again, check the side you're using, and then you just get in there. Now I'm doing this like this because of the camera at the moment. There we go. So I like to count, 10 or 12 strokes. And always angled back a little bit too. Okay. So initial pass, 10, 12 strokes, tune it to pitch. Again, always bring it back to pitch. Whatever tuning you use. Here we go. And let's check that again. So 22 thousandths. Well that's working. Okay, well, let's do the other 2 strings. Alright, so let's look at the intonation. Again, I might have to readjust some things, but I had fooled around with the intonation a little bit last night, and just checking it. So open string, harmonic at the 12th, fretted note, it's good. It's good. It's a little sharp. I'll bring that down. It's good. That's good. So, just adjusting the saddles to give you that intonation effect, right? That's good. And so the order of adjustment neck relief, string height, intonation, and then your nut height. Now, I'd already done the intonation last night, so I know that the nut height was too high. So I'm going to let this sit before I do any other adjustments to the action or neck relief or anything. Next thing are the pickups. Alright, so pickup height quickly. Bass side 1/8 of an inch, 3/32 on the treble. Push down the last fret. And oh, that needs to come up. That one's pretty good. So really it's this bridge pickup that needs to come up. Let's see if this moves okay. Oh yeah. They're really stiff though. Not sure what's under there, foam of some sort or a spring. Feels probably foam. Bass side. Oh, still need to come up. And so it's from the top of the pole piece to the underside of the string. That up a bit. Remember to do them evenly too. Like these jazz pickups have 2 screws, one on each side. Sometimes you have to help them up a little bit. That's better. That's good. Right. Last thing I like to do is just check and see that nothing is buzzing. Again, you can do this on the bench, you can do this in the playing position, you can do it upside down, however you like. Not going to change anything. No, it's me, push down. There we go. Well, so overall this bass is turning out to be pretty nice. Got the new brass saddles, done the setup, we've adjusted the neck to be a jazz neck. See that nice slim taper. It should be fun to play and fun to work on. So I'll put a little satin finish on the back of the neck and get playing on this thing. I'll keep you updated. Alright, thanks again for watching. We'll see you in the next video, folks. Bye for now.